Hello and welcome to Interface here on SABC2. My name is Thembisa Magele. Well, parents who default on child maintenance can now expect to be listed at credit bureaus. Government has passed the Maintenance Amendment Act, which is aimed at making it easier for parents to claim child maintenance. This has been a source of frustration for many parents, especially the primary providers who are mainly mothers. Child rights activists say depriving children of financial support is not only illegal, but it is also a form of abuse. On Interface tonight, we explore this issue and we find out how these amendments will help to speed up long outstanding cases. Let's take a look at this insert compiled by Zama Buthelezi.
Meet the Luhodi twins. They are 16 years old. Like all the teenagers, they dream of doing well at school, following their passion and succeeding in life. But for the better part of their school life, they have lost out on school trips and other important events because their mother has been out of a job for years.
When it comes to January before we go to school, it's always such a struggle with textbooks and uniform and blazers. Me and Sunshine at school, we do a lot of extramurals at school. I do debating, choir, public speaking, tennis, and all these things require us to be at school majority of the time. So with him not paying, it limits us in such a way that we don't have transport for that. There's not enough money to have transport that's going to go late at night to go and fetch us. So it has to come out of our mother's pocket.
The Maintenance Act stipulates that cases should be concluded in 90 days. But for this mother, the fight started 14 years ago.
I applied 2001 when my twins were only 2 years old. He came and supported them maybe for 1 or up to 4 months. Then he started complaining that other women make one child. I made two. I made the twins because I wanted to finish his money.
He has also ignored court orders to start paying maintenance that were granted in 2007. He is now 312,000 rands in arrears. Her fight for her children's rights nearly landed her in jail.
I was so shocked. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to express myself. But I asked them, I said, how can there be a warrant for my arrest when I've been here after that time several times? Why didn't you arrest me?
He came to the court to say, I can't comply with the order. As a result, I'm not working. Or can you please set the order aside for my vehicle to be attached? Both parties were then warned by the court. And unfortunately, Glory did not pitch. And as a result, a warrant of arrest was then issued.
I used to go there every month. Every month I was in court. And most of the time I was alone. He never pitched. The court did nothing.
The Luhodi twins are among millions of South African children who cannot access their rights because the courts fail to enforce maintenance orders. But all that is set to change as courts intensify efforts to track down defaulters.
The department has embarked on a lot of new strategies to improve the maintenance system globally. And I believe with the changes and the initiatives that has been embarked upon, I must say there's a vast improvement on maintenance.
In 2011, the department introduced a system to electronically transfer maintenance money into beneficiaries' bank accounts. But last year, more than 3 million rands in maintenance money remained unclaimed. In September this year, the Maintenance Act was amended to facilitate speedy resolution of such cases. According to the new law, maintenance defaulters will be blacklisted. The law makes it easier for mothers to claim for maintenance at the nearest courts. Zama Buthelezi for Interface at SABC.
Well, let me introduce our guests tonight to you. Our guests are Advocate Praise Kambula, who is the head of the Promotion of the Rights of Vulnerable Groups Unit at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. And we are also joined from the Johannesburg Family Court by Janine Aarons, who is the court manager there. And also we have in studio the Operations Director for Women and Men Against Child Abuse, Vincentia Dlamini. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us, and thank you for being with us on Interface. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So let's first do an audit of the current scenario, how things stand at the moment, and maybe let's start with you, Advocate Kambula. When somebody defaults on maintenance, or let's say it's your partner and they default on maintenance, what options are currently available to you?
You see, as a department, we have developed a maintenance enforcement strategy, which is mainly about dealing with defaulters, because the issue of defaulters is something that the department is faced with. I think the country is faced with. We have fathers who are not paying maintenance, but then there are different reasons that contribute to that. You'll find that sometimes it is because the father is unemployed, lost the job, and then after that it does not come to court to report that he has lost the job. And you must know that this money of maintenance is coming from the respondent, that is either the father or the mother of the child, because our law does not place the responsibility of maintaining children on the fathers. The mothers as well are expected to maintain their children.
But whoever is defaulting, what avenues are available for the person that is left with the responsibility of caring for the children?
There's a criminal sanction that is there that says that you are, because it's an order of the court. The moment that you violate an order of the court, it becomes criminal. But then our maintenance enforcement strategy is not proposing the criminal sanction. Is to look into the civil remedies of recovering that debt, which may come in a number of ways. That is, we can have your salary attached, we can have your property attached, whether movable or immovable, we can have your debts attached. So those are the civil remedies that are available. And if we have exhausted them and we realize that the father does not have anything that can be attached, so that children can have money. Remember that the purpose of this piece of law is to ensure that it brings food to children.
Right.
It's not about making the father to go to jail. But then the criminal sanction then becomes the last resort, so as to ensure that we have a justice system that is actually responding to the needs of the children.
Janine, we heard in the package that we were listening to earlier that there are now all of these amendments that have been put in place. One of them being the fact that you can be listed on a credit bureau. What other significant changes have come with these amendments?
Thank you. I believe that there's quite a few changes that the department has actually embarked upon, and one of the main functions is to ensure that we finalize all our cases within 90 days. Meaning, when the applicant comes to court for the very first time, when there's a proper service done, then we start counting the 90 days from date of proper service to ensure that we comply with the 90 days turnaround strategy that the department has embarked on. That will eliminate cases running for 2-3 years, which was in the result of Glory, where she said she's been coming to court continuously and nothing happened.
But I'm thinking, as a lay person, that should go without saying. You shouldn't be sitting on cases for longer than 3 months.
Exactly.
Why wasn't it being done before?
When one looks back into the scenario and do a proper assessment on each and every case, there was a lot of loopholes, but there's a lot of transformation that took place. Because if I look back, the case of Glory happened in 2001 and we're now in 2015. So there's a lot of transformation within the Maintenance Act, specifically, where there's a vast improvement and there is a lot of engagement with stakeholders, because remember, there's a lot of stakeholders involved in the entire process. We have the NPA, which plays a vital role. We have our judicial
And the sheriffs
officers.
as well.
We have the sheriffs. All those stakeholders needs to come together to ensure that the needs of the children are being met. In the case of Glory, there was a lot of loopholes then.
Okay.
But a lot of transformation has indeed taken place since then.
Vincentia, you're a key stakeholder. You are a member of civil society. You are also making sure that this process is going well. What kind of challenges have you encountered in trying to make sure that this is done properly?
I think the challenges that we face is lack of education. I think, parents, especially the ones that are the primary caregivers, do not know what their rights are, and then they do not know what the act is saying. You talk to a lay person who does not understand, how the process goes. And sometimes if a man says that I'm unemployed, what do you want me to do? They know nothing about attachment of immovables, all the other avenues that we could try and bring into place so that we can retrieve some money so that this child can go. So there's a lot of, especially in the communities, the parents, the grannies, they are so frustrated. There's so much pressure put on, on the primary caregivers. Right. I think if we just educate the public more on their rights, then I think it's better when they go there, they understand what is expected.
Okay, we have to take a short break, but after the break, I want to ask about those mothers that are often accused of having a personal vendetta against the dads and use the system to try and get back at those partners. But we have to take a short break. Remember, if you would like to take part in the discussion, you can do so by finding us on social media. Just stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about child maintenance issues, and of course we're interested in what you have to say about this. You can find us on social media. On Facebook, it's at Interface on SABC2, or on Twitter at Interface on SABC, or my personal handle, which is at Tembisa Magele. Now, before the break, we're talking about those mothers that are often accused, or the women that are accused of using the child maintenance system to wage a personal war against the fathers of their children. How do we deal with that?
Tembisa, I think the fathers need to understand that there are avenues where sometimes you find that the father is not given his rights as a father to say that you can come see your child, visitation rights. But the fathers need to know that there is a children's court that is also, there to safeguard their, the well-being of the child, because the best interest of the child is of paramount importance. So the mother, with or without whether they like it or not, they just have to accept that the father also have equal rights like the mother. But what happens is that some of the time the fathers also become frustrated, and some of them, they do say, I want to maintain my child, but that woman is making my life miserable because every time I want to see the child, she doesn't want me to see the child.
But let's just clarify that. Is it dependent on visitation rights?
No.
The fact that, you either see your child or don't, does that determine whether or not you pay maintenance?
No. The law says whether you see your child or you don't see your child, you still have to pay maintenance. So those are two separate issues. What it means now, that the father, when they're faced with those mothers that say, I don't want to see, you can't withhold maintenance because the mother is doing that. What you need to do is approach the children's court so that your parental rights and responsibilities are reviewed, and there's that system that will also ensure that you as the father have them, have a say in the child's upbringing.
It's about the best interest of the child. Maintenance is not about parents, but what they do now is to drag children into their conflicts. At the disadvantage of the child,
Right.
and we are not encouraging that. If you have issues with the father of the child, don't involve your children, because your children have got a right to both parents, including the parent. So we need then to put it very clear to listeners or to the viewers that they need to stop doing that. It's not legal. They need to stop doing that.
And during the break, we were talking about those women that actually don't have the personal details of the fathers of their children and therefore can't access the system. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's another problem that we are having. You see, when I just need this, if women out there can listen to this and clearly understand it, we women, we need to stop dating people that we do not know, that we don't know where they stay. And some of us, they date men that we don't even know their full names. If he's called Blakey, then he's Blakey and Blakey and Blakey. And you find that Blakey is not the name that is in the ID. The system works according to what is in the ID. And we have an IT system that help us then to trace these the respondents. But then if the full names are not accurate and the place of residence is not accurate, those are one of the things that contribute then to the delays. And also, you know, there is this tendency with mothers that they will go and make an application for the maintenance order and then expect the system to trace the father, and they know that the father is staying there, is moving there, and is working there, but do nothing in terms of coming to the court system, you know, to report that I know where this person works and
Right.
all that. So we need then as women to be careful, you know, and to ensure that every sexual relationship can result in the birth of a child. So we need then to be responsible as women to ensure that we know the people that we engage with sexually.
Point well made. But one of the other allegations, Janine, is that in the system itself, the officials tend to be corrupt and they tend to be involved in sabotaging the maintenance process. How are you as a department dealing with that?
Yeah, you know what, fraud and corruption will always be there, but I think when you have your correct processes in place, and then we also have a team from the service delivery unit that visit our office on a quarterly basis, where files and outcomes of matters are now being assessed. We do also get auditors on a quarterly basis, where there's proper audit verification done on all our files to ensure that the issue of fraud and corruption is therefore ended, because the problem at the end of the day is fraud and corruption will only be there if the respondent and the client is the person who speak about the fraud and corruption. Because how does fraud and corruption start? It starts with a person,
a corrupter and a corruptee.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm saying is, as much as they say the officials in the court are corrupt, where does it start? So I'm pleading with those that comes to the courts to say, all our services are for free. You don't have to pay for anything.
Exactly.
And there's processes that we need to follow. And we also have quality assurance that comes every 6 months to ensure that our cases are indeed properly assessed and finalized in time.
Vincentia, are you seeing
as well?
Right? Are you seeing an improvement in this system at all since we've had these amendments?
I think because it's this is a new, you know, amendment. It's just been signed into law now.
September.
Yes, in September. So we just it's in infancy stage. We're just hoping that, you know, as we do, you know, public consultation and education, people will know, and hoping for the best. But what needs to be out there is that it's not only the responsibility of government to take care of the children. I think we've spoken about mothers that are having children with unknown people, but I think fathers also need to know the implication it has on the child that is deprived of their right to basic education, right to, you know, proper food, shelter, because we are seeing a lot of our children having to fend for themselves when you know, the parents, and I'm not only talking about the fathers only. There are women who refuse to pay maintenance when they can afford, because they feel that I can just after separation, I can just leave the child with the father and carry on and live my life. It doesn't go that way. Both parents have a responsibility to this child that needs to grow up in a healthy and safe environment. So everybody needs to take responsibility. I think going to court should be the last resort when there's no, there's no common ground. But as parents, put your differences aside and think about this particular soul that needs, because we are putting a lot of pressure on the government. When you can afford to raise your child, you need to step up and raise your child, regardless of whether you're a father or your mother. But we are seeing a lot of children are being, a lot of children are depending on the social grants, which they shouldn't be depending on the social grants. You understand? And some fathers who feel that mothers who are unemployed are having social grant, that is enough. No, the maintenance is separate.
So everybody needs to play their part.
Everyone needs to
do that.
Now,
and
what
can
happened?
I just add one thing here?
Yes.
As to say that we are also now making it easy in terms of this new legislation, that actually it was also there in the principal legislation that the father, if you are the father and you are thinking that, for me to go to court, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stand on those queues and all that. We have a system now that says that the order can be made by consent. So it's just a matter of writing and saying that I'm consenting after the issues, after you have actually listed your financial requirements and all that. What is it that you have and all that? So you can consent, having an agreement, of course, with the complainant that this is the amount. That court order will be made in your absence, with you sitting in your office and without coming to the office.
So it's been made easier now. Well, we have to take another short break, but we want to know after the break, or at least one of the things we want to know after the break, is whether or not you can be arrested at a traffic block where they look at you and they say you are defaulting on your maintenance. There's a warrant out for your arrest, and therefore we are nabbing you right this minute. That's one of the questions coming up after this break.
It's that time of the year again where good friends and families come together
to celebrate with love. It's Christmas time.
Christmas time. It's Christmas time. From the SABC News family to yours.
Have a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Welcome back. We are talking about child maintenance issues, and as you can hear, the conversation does continue even during the break, and also it is continuing on our social media pages. Let's take some of your thoughts coming through on Facebook. Kuto Ramafalo says, indeed, it is even a struggle to try to enforce an existing maintenance order. This is a very big problem and it needs to be dealt with. And Natasha Basson says, child maintenance is a source of frustration for taxpayers, since mothers are well aware of what they get themselves into when they are involving themselves with prospectively absent fathers. Very interesting thought there. Do keep those thoughts coming through on at Interface on SABC2. That's how you find us on Facebook, or at Tembi Samachela, or at Interface on SABC on Twitter. So before the break, we were talking about one of the things that needs to happen, which is when there's a warrant out for your arrest, and you are then stopped at a traffic block or a traffic blockade, why do the traffic cops or the police that catch you there not nab you and take you to prison? Why is that not being done?
You see, the responsibility of the department is to grant the issuing of the warrant of arrest for the arrest of the respondent for many reasons, but one could be because that respondent is not paying a maintenance order is remember that, as I said earlier on, that for us is the last resort, you know, to ensure to enforce the criminal sanction. But arrest has to be there. But then it rests with it's a discretion of SABC as to how they execute that. If they want to execute it that way, then that will be their discretion.
But why is it left at their discretion? Why is the department not working with SABC to say, listen, this is a critical issue. There are children that are going without food in South Africa. Please make sure this is done.
There are many ways of effecting or executing a warrant of arrest. But then you have mentioned this one. And I'm saying that should they do that, it will be their discretion. But all that we want as courts is for them to bring them to court. How they do it, it is their responsibility. We want them to bring them to court very fast. It's their mandate to do that.
Okay. But what also happened to the list of defaulters that we were told about in 2011 with great fanfare by the minister, that there is now going to be a naming and shaming process where defaulters are placed on a list. Is that currently happening? Jenny?
Do you mind if I respond on it? Yes, there is a list made available, but there is still obviously processes and engagement that obviously need to take place with SABC in order to make sure that those people are brought to court, and then at the end of the day that we see them paying maintenance. So the list was there, but then we still have to engage with SABC in terms of the execution of those lists. Although we are also making use of our maintenance investigators.
Yes.
That actually goes out to see if we can't trace these defaulters, which is a challenge currently at our level.
What's the point of having a naming and shaming process?
It's a constitutional issue.
But the minister in 2011 said the issue of privacy is not one that should be taking precedence over the fact that the child needs to get that money. So if there is a list which is meant to name and shame the defaulters, male and female, by the way, why is that list not being made available and doing its job?
Remember that we are abiding by the Constitution, and it is the highest law of the land, and the children themselves have got rights. So if we're gonna name and shame your father, what are your friends gonna be saying about you as a child?
So has the minister backtracked on that?
Also to look into that. What the minister did after that was for us then to explore that issue, and we explored it as a department in all angles, and then came up with the maintenance enforcement strategy. That's the one that I was talking about. That is now ensuring that we start with the civil remedies first, so as to protect the child. Remember that it's all about the best
I just want to clarify, has the minister now backtracked on that, and has he taken that off the table?
Yes, because of the maintenance enforcement strategy that we have come up with.
Going forward, what kind of issues do you want to see highlighted further? Oh, before we do that, I know our producer Zama is going to absolutely kill me if I don't ask this question. The warrant of execution apparently says that you can now attach immovable property. And if you do that, or immovable goods, if you do that, there's a storage element to that. And that then puts the burden on the mother or the father or the person that actually needs to pay for that storage. Why is that not being amended? Any one of you ladies can take that one.
There's a provision in the new act that says that the respondent can pay for the costs of any order that has been made. So that cost will lie with the respondent. And I just also want to say that there's a provision that we introduced the show to say that we can blacklist. Yes, it is there. But then it is a provision that has not yet been in operation, because we have to do regulations at the department to see as to how we can implement that.
So when will it start?
It will start to be implemented as soon as we are done with the regulations, and that process has already started. And even with the ones of ensuring that when we want to locate your whereabouts, then we'll go to the
cell phone providers.
Yes, that one is also suspended.
We are trusting civil society organizations to put pressure on the department to make sure that those things are done so that the money is recovered for the children. Will you be undertaking that?
Yes, civil society, we all, as civil society, legislation, good pieces of legislation are there. What we want to see our children fed, we want our children going to school, we want fathers to pay maintenance. Because now we have new provisions that are there, we'll see that how these are going to come into place. Because I tell you, these are good strategies to recover these monies. So it will be very interesting in the few days to come and see how that is being implemented to ensure that the burden is not put on the grannies, the burden is not put on the foster parents.
I've got to wrap this up. Ladies, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your insights on this topic, and we will be keeping tabs and seeing how this one pans out. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time to watch us on Interface. To join us again next week at the same time. Good night.